Back. It's been a while, man, right? Few months since Fear the Walking Dead ended. But yeah, we're back. I am Negan, a TWD Universe podcast. My name is Adam Vale. I'm joined by Richard Bailey Jr. What's up, Rich?
What's up, Adam? What's up, listeners and viewers?
And Carlos Romero.
Yo, yo, yo! It's been a while. I missed the fear and the beyond.
If
So,
here and
but I
beyond.
got I got mothership in this but I'm glad to be back. Glad to be
There you
back.
go. There you go. For those new to the podcast, to the show, we've been around for a few years, but there's some new people, and that's what I enjoy watching. Like we're streaming on Spotify and iTunes and YouTube, and of course, Koalition with a K. That's where we're from. You can go and check us out there. But it's funny when we're during these breaks between different shows, and then every once in a while I'll chime in and take a look, and I'll see like episode 15, season 4, three views. I'm like, oh, okay, and listens and stuff. And it's people just running around from different seasons and different shows. And it's cool because it shows that there's an interest, not just for this product that we're producing, but just in the Walking Dead in general. Just people just trying to figure things out, especially the last episode of World Beyond. That one seems to always get a lot of random hits. And I think it's because people are curious to see, well, one, how did it end? And two, how does it connect to everything else in the Walking Dead universe? There's got to be some connection, and we discussed it. There's very few connections at all, besides the big group and that one character that bounced over and pretty much got a whole reimagined experience because she's a different person almost completely when she showed up in there. But yeah, so it's cool. So now here we go. We're back. This is for Tales of the Walking Dead. This is I guess you want to call it a mini series. There's only 6 episodes, right? They're all individually produced and they're in their own little world. From what I understand, they're not going to connect. And this one is titled Evie and Joe. This was the one. Now, we weren't told too much about how all this stuff works. We saw the cast members, a lot of them popped up, especially the most notable Terry Crews popped up over at San Diego Comic-Con last month. And then they hyped it up and they talked about all kinds of stuff. And there's a few other surprises with these actors, famous known actors in other episodes. And we'll get into those when those start dropping. But overall, they pretty much told us what to expect, is that these were going to be just individual episodes, just showing things, tales of what's going on with other people during this time period. Of course, we know what with Mothership and what they were dealing with. And of course, World Beyond showed us whatever they were doing on their part. And this is it. This is like small bites. This sort of brought back memories when they were describing it as when they did the airline stuff. Remember when there was the little webisode when they were doing those things?
Oh yeah.
Where they were on a plane, someone got sick, and the whole thing, and then the plane went down. It reminded me of something like that. So they're just going to expand on that whole situation. But so here we are. This is for episode 1. This most likely will be a one season type of thing unless it takes off. But if we go based off of this first episode, it will not take off. At least on the way I see it, man. So, real quick, another little disclaimer: we will be spoiling this episode. So, if you have not watched this episode and you're like, "Well, I haven't seen," all right, well, you can go on AMC Plus right now and watch it, or you can wait till Sunday. We're recording on a Saturday, so that's tomorrow, and you can watch it then, and then come back and see if you have the same thoughts and the same opinions and views of this show. And I'm not going to say the series because it's every episode is different, so this could be a one-off thing. But man, this first one. This was not what I was expecting, and this is not what I wanted. This was not because it's. Oh man! All right, well, 3, 2, 1. We're just gonna get into this. This was a letdown. This was for me personally was a letdown only because it was very lighthearted. Their whole approach, the way they described the show and how they wanted to depict things, and then the way Terry Crews was talking about it, I was like, yeah, I've never played a character like this, and I was like, okay, well, I'm watching this. You remind me of the same dude from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You're being comical. There's a lot of that. Uh, it just the flow, and I get it. It's a short amount of time. This is not something that gets spread out. So even before we started recording, we're like just going. I was looking over my notes. I'm like, I don't think I knew his backstory, besides the fact that we mentioned he was a construction worker, but there's some engineering that has to be done in his background for what he did with his vehicle and his love for football, and at least staying fit. As we know, Terry Crews is very fit, and maybe this is why they had to explain why he's so fit, because it was like, why is he so jacked? This dude who's living in a bunker. And I was in my mind, I was like, oh, well, he's watching his football game. We'll get into the whole thing, people. I'm just venting right now. And the fact that he's jacked up and he's still working out. I'm like, well, where are you getting food and a protein? Whatever. But I thought he was a former football player and he had the money. This is in my head. This is what I'm thinking. And he had the money and he built an underground bunker. All the stuff, the poop hit the fan, all that. And he was like, well, I'm okay. And I'm just going to watch my old football games and hang out with my dog. So before we go into the full thing, is that what you picked up from it, from the opening scene, or is that just me?
From the opening scene. So I do, before that, I do want to go back to just the inception of the show, my thoughts on what Tales is supposed to be, because I had no clue what anything was supposed to be, because the only thing I knew about this is that it's a spin-off show, that it's 6 episodes, and that Terry Crews is in it. It wasn't until like yesterday or 2 days before that I think one of you guys told me that it was episodic. So that's the first time I knew it was episodic. I thought we were going to have Terry Crews the whole time. So when I figured out it was episodic, then I'm like, okay, so these are self-contained stories each episode, and we're going to get different sides of, I guess the Walking Dead kind of stuff. And with this one, I don't know what to feel. I'm like Adam. I'm kind of down on this episode. It seemed like it didn't fit anywhere. The lightheartedness, the Olivia Munn kind of stuff where she was like kind of weird. It's like, oh, like I'm like a hippie vegan kind of thing. It's like during the apocalypse. But yeah, I'm with Adam. I was very underwhelmed by this episode. There's a lot of confusion. I didn't have as much issues with Terry Crews's character. I did enjoy the scenes with the dog.
Gilligan.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, we'll get into more detail. But as far as just the beginning of what this show was supposed to be, I didn't have as much expectations going in. So I wasn't as disappointed as probably you were, Adam. But nonetheless, it was still not that good.
So we'll just get into it. So it starts off where we see Terry Crews, and his name is Joe, and he's sitting in a recliner. And we clearly see that he's in an enclosed area, and it's a bunker that he has, and he's hanging out with his dog, Gilligan, sorry. And he has a set routine. So he goes outside, the dog takes his lead, they do a little walk, they come back in, and you see him turning on and off the light. He takes his proteins or whatever he's taking. He's definitely taking something because he's jacked. They make sure that sometimes you see him with no shirt on, sometimes you see him with a shirt, but it's Terry Crews. We all know.
Part of it.
Yeah. So then, he seems to be watching the same football game. Maybe that's the only recording he has. And he always acts surprised every time he's watching, like, touchdown, yeah! Which is funny. And the days are going by, and I'm expecting that once he gets out, something crazy is going to happen. And it really doesn't get there, because then the dog is getting older and has to constantly go outside and stuff, and he's having trouble. So this point that the show starts picking up is Terry Crews picks him up, says, don't worry about it. Everybody gets old. Let's go outside. Goes outside. He's taking his league, and then they have some walkers show up. What's cool, and this is when I was like, oh, wow, this is almost like a cool setup that he has here, is that he triggered a button and a fencing came up with the spikes and everything. Like, he fortified this area.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and the walkers are just walking right into it because, they're dumb, and they're just getting stuck to the fencing there. And I'm like, okay. But then Gilligan just keeps barking. He's like, calm down. It's all right. We got this under control. And it was a bad cut. I don't know what they were going for, but you can see it looked like they put like a puppet version of the dog up next to a walker's neck or something. It was weird. It's like they lifted up like, it just didn't look right, the shot. And I don't think it was needed. Because I'm looking at it, I was like, oh, what is this? And I get it now. This is how they explain that the dog gets hurt. He gets bit, he falls, the whole thing. There goes that, right? And that made no sense, because if you have this fortification, you had the spikes that were up, there was no reason for the dog to even jump out like that. They didn't break through. So
Yeah.
I guess this was just their way of killing the dog. If that's the case, then you already had said just a few seconds before that he's getting old. It looked like he was having trouble going up to take to go to the bathroom. So they could have just had it where they go up, he takes his leak, whatever, he lays down, doesn't get up. That would have been just as sad to see this dog die that way. But whatever, they have him, then he dies this way, and eventually it comes out that Joe is upset about the whole thing. Now he really started to feel alone. This is all he has. He's read the same books over and over again, and I think that was it. Some of the books actually helped him because he decides that he's going to leave, and it looks at some point we don't see this. This was happening, just I guess off air, but he was corresponding with someone online, and this person had mentioned, it was a female, that she had a deluxe version bunker, right? She took the premium or platinum version of a bunker, just in case it was her and her husband, a whole big thing, and something that happened, he had died. But she just went back and forth that she had to set up. So he decides, you know what? I need to go do something else. I'm going to get out of here. And so you see him get on his motorcycle that has a sidecar, and he stacked up all his supplies. He puts on a football helmet, which is, again, why I kept thinking that he was a former football player. And I figured that, of course, he's going to come across certain people. We saw it in the trailers, like Olivia Munn. I thought they were all going to recognize him as his football star, sort of like a Flash Gordon situation, with reported and everything. Like, oh, this is Flash. Oh, man. But no, that was the case. But anyway, he packs up, and then that's it. And then he decides to leave. So before we go any further, what did you guys think of just the introduction of Joe, the setup, and now it looks like the plot of the story is this is Joe looking for that woman with the special premium bunker. Rich?
Well, to be quite honest, I was very underwhelmed from the very beginning. To me, Terry Crews is playing himself. And I know you made the comment earlier about Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Yeah, it feels like it's the exact same character. They also were a little lighthearted in the very beginning, just how he was talking to the dog and the tone, the music that they use, all this other type of stuff.
Throughout the episode, very light. It was, I don't know. Keep going.
Yeah, so I mean, those are definitely the reasons why. I mean, but I will say I agree with what you said about how the dog died. That would have been a better way to handle that particular thing on the show. But overall, I guess they had to move the story forward so he could leave. The criticism I do have, though, is that this person he was talking to, I thought this is someone he was talking to for quite some time before he even lost the dog. So, I mean, I think I was a little bit confused if he had started talking to this person after the dog passed, but I thought he was talking to this person. Yeah, he was talking to her a long time because she asked about the dog later on. So, yeah, but he didn't.
And Rich,
yeah,
I do have a question. Do we know? Was this like a bunker Reddit, like forum or something? Because how is it coincidentally that two people just meet that are heavily into like self isolating bunker people?
It has to be. Because that was his bunker. He didn't find it. This was his. All his belongings. It wasn't like he stumbled across it. This was his. So I have to think that this was some kind of subreddit. They were talking, and then just him and this woman just started doing their own thing and getting really into it. Now she never told him where it was. Yeah, right? She just locations and stuff like that. And he said he had an image, right? He had that picture of it, but he didn't know where. He had a picture of her and map too. And luckily he didn't get catfished, or maybe not lucky, right? Because what happens? But still, anybody can post a picture of like, oh, look at my house, like, oh wow, you're standing in front of. Wait, is that Chris Brown back there? Wait, who are you? Right? It's one of those things. But yeah. All right, so keep going.
Oh no, I just was going to say, yeah, I think that's a good explanation for it, Adam. It had to be the Reddit, so I'm just going to believe that's what it was, because otherwise I'm just going to think that was a matter of convenience that you brought this other person into the storyline, and just so happens that later on when he meets this person, the other person who he eventually meets the person she's looking for is also in the same vicinity of where they need to go. So I thought that was just a little too convenient.
It's like the Wizard
All
of
that
Oz.
stuff.
It was the Wizard
Yeah.
of Oz. It was like, I'm on this road and I'm following. Oh yeah, me too. All right. And in fact, let's get to that now. So while he's out on the road, this motorcycle, it's an electric one, and it's slow. This thing is slow because I mean, once he turns it, like it's like maybe he put a Vespa engine in it or something. It just it was slow, but he pops the tire. Right, that's what it was. It was a tire pop. He stops, and then we get introduced to the Evie, the Olivia Munn character, and she pops up and she has a weapon. It's like, oh no, he wanders off and he gets caught in a trap. And now that wasn't her trap. That's they never really go into it, but I'm pretty sure that was not her trap. Right?
I didn't get it either way. I'm not sure if it was hers. I just know that she was waiting for someone apparently. So I would assume that it was her trap.
I thought, but the way she said it, because she couldn't cut him down, and she says, "Well, I hope you have some kind of knife on you," and he had a switchblade. All right, so she takes switchblade and then she gives him some handcuffs that she had. She said, "I'm not letting you out unless you put this on." And she makes a funny comment about you. If I don't do this, well, if you don't do this, Joe, you're just gonna be a piñata.
She was making fun of him because he couldn't get to his switchblade because he was too big, like he was too muscular. So
she didn't know. She asked if he had a weapon, like if he had anything. I didn't know she already saw it.
No, she saw it because she knew exactly where to go to pick it up. So it's like, yeah, I think that was her net, her trap. So yeah, I don't think it was anyone else because it seemed too convenient that her place or the place that she was staying in and where she was like kind of lurking was right next to that trap.
Yeah, I guess. But then what was she trying to catch? That's the thing. Because we don't see her hunting or doing any of that type of stuff. And remember, like you mentioned before, she was vegan. So
she wasn't vegan, but she was like kind of vegan. She said something in the show. It was like, well, not all the way or something like that. I forgot what she said.
Yeah. She's not fully there yet.
Not fully there yet. All right. So who knows? Maybe that's what she was doing. She was trying to catch. But instead, she caught it Terry Crews. There we go. She called a big dude named Joe. So she gets him out, but she plans on, after spilling all this stuff about her life and what she's doing, she said she's just going to leave him. She's showing off everything at the little hideout that she had. She was like, "Oh, I have this and that. You'll be good." And like just prepping him, like, "You're going to stay here and fill my spot. And I'm going to take your vehicle and I'm out." And then that's it. And she said, "Well, you can't because I have like, what was it? It was like a safeguard on it and
kill
switch. It's a kill switch, yeah. And it's like if she tries to do anything and does it the wrong way, it'll kill her, right?" So
can I jump ahead a little bit?
Go ahead.
Since you mentioned it, how did the tires get fixed?
They don't go there.
It's like we just assumed that they reinflated themselves.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was, Carlos.
So it was like, I'm like, they didn't show that she fixed it. He was cuffed this whole time. They just got on the thing and went on their merry way.
We have to assume that when she agreed to have him come along as a chauffeur, that he fixed it, that he knew what to do and fix it. You know, he had a patch or a backup. I don't know. Yeah, where you got an air pump with all that stuff in the sidecar. And that's the other thing. The sidecar was full. But then she sits in it and was like, "Well, where's all the stuff that was in the sidecar?" Like we see there's a bunch of little things behind it. But again, you know, it's just overthinking it and overlooking. We just got to go with it. We're going to just assume that was enough. Don't worry about it. You know, they're all together. They're both together. So they go on this trip. So now we have this character. And then this is the long story short is that, like we mentioned right before, is that she is looking for her ex-husband. You know, her ex-husband, they met at some weird retreat. It was very long-winded. What was it? It was like to diffuse evil energies and all this stuff. It was like he was like using like crystals. I was like, "Oh no, there's other methods." And there was like paintings, and that he would draw things that he disliked on paintings, and they had a falling out, and she wouldn't be surprised if she would be one of his paintings. But he mentioned that he had a family member or his parents had this cabin up in some hill area, and that's where she's going. It's been a while. She's been alone, and she wants to find him. And it just so turns out that he's also going in that direction. That where he's going is to find the woman, and that her cabin, her bunker, whatever, is also within that area.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the gist of it. That's where they're going, and I don't know if that was. It's just, and then just the back and forth, the feel, the interaction. It just Terry Cruz's response and the audio and everything just felt very lighthearted. There was no sense of dread or real worry. She was cracking jokes. He's cracking some jokes. It just didn't. It didn't feel like a Walking Dead. It didn't feel like they were. I don't know. We always talk about this, and I feel that if as much as people are like, well, they have to show other sides of things. It's like how when things are so grim that you can go this light. You can't,
and that's
serious. I can't.
And that's the whole purpose of this show. I mean, that's why it's called The Walking Dead. You're not gonna call Jumping on Sunshine show. If you want to do that, you can make that show. They're making the Walking Dead show. This is a spin-off of the Walking Dead series. Every spin-off, whether it's Fear or whether it's Beyond or whatever else came out, the webisodes, they're all really grim. It's people coming to terms, surviving through the apocalypse. So I mean, I understand there's points of levity in certain times, but it just felt like this whole episode, like there's only kind of at the beginning, at the end, at the end, right before it ended, where it was like kind of the dark spots. And it seems like, I don't know, their personalities were kind of weird to me on the trip. It's like they just started singing, and then I'm like,
they go into a little song, and he sings because he puts on his headphones, and then she sings along because she could hear it, and she's talking about how he's butchering the song,
and that's one of the issues with this only being a self-contained episode, because you don't have that much time to have a lot of moments where you can feel like them singing together is an actual payoff. Because they barely met like 2 minutes ago, so now they're singing together.
The other thing, they don't really show. It'd be great if they incorporated what they were doing on Walking Dead proper, throwing like a big number, like 4 days later or something like that. Just let us know how long have they been together, how long have they been traveling, because we don't have an idea of that.
Yeah, and I mean they could have done it using kind of jump cuts, like you're saying, and showing like 3 days later.
One day, because during the camp, when they did set up camp, they got attacked. Some walkers showed up, and then he was like, "You got to free me so I could help." And then she was like, "All right, fine." She frees him, and then he helps, and the whole thing, and they get that done. Right. And then they was like, "All right, what do we do now?" And that's when it was like, "All right, I'm going to drive." I mean, do you want to drive? And then she starts driving, and he's riding in the side car.
Yeah, I don't know. They just painted his character as being like a super introverted person, but somehow he's, singing along to melodies in the sidecar with a chick she met like 2 days ago.
She makes jokes about physique and protein powder and all this stuff, and he doesn't acknowledge it. I would like to know, how do you stay this fit? What kind of things did you do? Are you eating a lot of whey protein? Is that what? Did you have that? Is that packed in the back, or was that inside? It's like when you work out a lot, you have to build up the muscle. You have to take all those things. He's jacked, and they showed it. And if people are like, oh well, you got to look. No, because they had scenes where they showed him with no shirt on. If they didn't want us to see that, leave a shirt on him. Leave a sweater or a hoodie. It could have said Green Bay, whatever. I think Michigan was the team that he was supporting or something like that.
Michigan, no, Ohio State. He's from Michigan, but he was an Ohio State fan.
And I think they did splash that across at on the screen, right? Like when they would travel.
Yeah, they traveled all through Ohio. And they were in they just, that's because I paid attention to that for sure. But that's what that was about.
We have to assume it's a few days then.
Oh yeah, definitely. It definitely was. I just felt like it wasn't portrayed as well, other than the fact that we're just seeing like different cities. I'm like, what, you could have run through those through a day or something, maybe? I don't know. I don't know. I've never been to Ohio, so I don't know. So yeah,
The vehicle. I mean, with the electrical, I'm guessing it's electrical, just the way it turned on and it was rolling. It wasn't gas. So where are you charging this? Do you have extra battery? What's because we know you had all the electricity and stuff running from the bunker.
Yeah.
How are you doing this? How is this happening?
You see. These are great questions to ask, and the writers over on this show would say you are thinking too much about this stuff.
Oh yeah,
because
this was supposed to be a lighthearted trip within The Walking Dead. This is it. This is what it's supposed to be. You know, she's over here with the crystals and all that. And oh yeah, what was it? She said a little saying every time she killed a walker, may your next life or something be blessed or something to that effect.
That's exactly what she said. Yep.
And it's like, okay, whatever. You know, this is what's going on. So it's almost over at this point because they get to another little area. And I think she walks off to do something. I'm not recalling exactly what happened, but he turns on the bike and he leaves it on and she calls him for something. And then he walks over. He's talking to her about stuff. And then some rando shows up and takes the bike, but instead leaves a lamb. You got a baby lamb there.
Now, I just want to make a quick comment about this. I know these are individual stories, but I am curious as to who that person is, and I would hope that within the next 6 episodes you see that part of that story of who that person is. But I don't know if that's what they're going to do.
Like a Quentin Tarantino movie where the characters are connected but not connected, like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed like super random that he would just leave a lamb there. It's like, what?
It's like, I'll take this, but you can take that.
Or it's like not even that. It's just leaving the lamb there. It's like you could have had a lamb, but it's just like left it. Or our deuces, dude. I gotta take this bike and just run and get the bike and dip. But he left the lamb, and it's like it just seems super random. Like
I'm in the sidecar. That's it.
I don't know. I know we're looking too much into this, but it just irked me the wrong way with that.
This is the discussion. These are the questions that they put in front of us because they produced the lamp. And it was like, all right, well, if not, they could have been just someone random just took the bike and that's it. But no, they planted the lamp. So now there's a question. Why was the person carrying the lamb? Was that their food source?
I think the lamb was there to appeal to the Evie character because you saw that Joe mentioned, oh yeah, now we have dinner. And she got offended, said, no, you're not going to eat this lamb. So maybe that's why the lamb was there. But they really should have did a better job of explaining why, because it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, was it just waiting for someone with a motorcycle to drop by so you can trade it with a lamb? Even for this world, it just seems too random to do that kind of stuff. But whatever. And they said, oh, by the way, and they said not to kill the lamb, but make cheese.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is not vegan if you're doing that. So that's why not all the way there.
It was very, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, maybe we will come across this person. And then for part of me, I was thinking, well, maybe this is the husband. Maybe this is the husband, and he's trying to get to that cabin. And she's going to encounter him because she's going to see the bike, the motorcycle in front of the cabin. Like, oh, I put 2 and 2 together. But no, that didn't happen. So they're wandering, they're walking. And then they start arguing. And for the first, within The Walking Dead that I could imagine or even remember, they dropped the F-bomb a couple of times, at least 2 times on this. She drops it.
I heard the B word.
Well, she drops the F, and then he drops it, and I'm like, whoa! I wonder if that's going to be cut out of the televised version. If this was just only for the AMC Plus, but who knows? Things change all the time. They always had it where you can say certain words a certain amount of times. But yeah, that was the standout for me because I'm like, whoa! Did I hear that right? Did he just drop that? Yeah, he did. He did. And then he walked off, which also didn't feel right because it felt out of character of the way he's so lighthearted and so polite for him to come out and say that. And maybe that's why they did it, because they were just to show, no, he's really mad this time. Look what he just said. I was like, all right.
The thing with me is like they they went on sort of a diatribe of over psychoanalyzing each other's lives. You know, it's like that's my whole issue. Like, I don't mind sort of the substance.
He has nobody and look like there's this
Yeah,
connection.
I don't mind those sort of scenes by themselves. It just feels like they weren't earned, like the way that they were when they were delivered. It's, you know, I was barely getting to know these people. I didn't know, like, they might have spent days on the road, but for me it didn't
Got it.
feel like that.
Carlos, I got what this was missing. It was missing
Oh,
a montage. They should have had a montage with dates flying by, seeing them do something like silly fishing
oh
together,
yeah, yeah.
or doing each other's like a haircut because he always had his head was shaved. Like, oh, I'm cutting his hair. Just a quick montage and play that horrible song that they were playing. It's something. Do something like that.
The
So
montage would have helped.
yeah, because then we get an idea. All right, they're building this relationship. Days are passing, maybe weeks are passing. Okay, so then now when they get into this back and forth, well, you're just a lonely hermit guy, blah, 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 and it isn't, and it would have made more sense. But yeah, it felt rushed and whatever. I guess they didn't even have time for the montage show.
They did have a kind of semi montage, but it was just using cities.
Yeah, well, it was just flashing with the traveling.
Yeah. So I wish they would have had, like, a few seconds of them, like you said, maybe, in a river drinking water, catching a fish or something. I don't know. Just do something.
Yeah. So some kind of connection there. So now we just follow Joe, and I guess they were close. They were close because that was the thing when he showed her the picture and one of those during, I think when we were camping, and he said, "All right, this is where I do know the house." She was like, "Oh, I recognize the background. I know," and that's when we find out that it's not too far from where she's going. But he sticks to the path and he finds it. He finds the house, and there's a camera there, and he's jumping in front. It's me, Joe. It's me. It's the whole thing, and we'll
There was
get.
a keyword. I didn't know was a keyword. Like, did you guys get that?
It was what he said. Well, that's the thing. He said something, and it was from when he was going back and forth when they were showing the text, the correspondence he was having with this woman, and it was there. But I guess he never thought he would get close, or she would. But what doesn't add up is what I'm going to get to in a second. Is that while he's doing all that, that's when she opens up the hatch. Right, the hatch doors open up, and he falls into it somehow because I see the hatch. But he just stumbled into it, right? Did I miss something? Like, it looks like there's stairs.
Yeah, there were stairs, but I guess the urgency of him getting away from the walkers sort of didn't make him think about that. So he's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna jump in here as quickly as I can."
So maybe, yeah, because then as he's jumping around, there's some walkers that showed up, and so jumps in, the door's closed, and then she pops up, and she's all like, "Oh wow, I wasn't expecting anybody. I was just on the elliptical, it's leg day," and it's like, what is this? It was very nicely lit. It looked awesome, but remember, and there was music playing, and she said she had the premium or platinum tier of bunkers.
Mm-hmm.
And she's glad that he's there. It's like, all right, come on in, And before we go any further, what did you think? Did this part make sense? That he is not too far off. I get they have to progress the story, but it seemed like it was just a few blocks up because it was still daylight. And that's always how I judge these things, is that if they argue during the day, it looked early day, at least show when it's getting dusk or something. No, it seems the same time. So he just walked a little further up. And if that's the case, couldn't she just see where he went? And you could see the house because the house was up like on a high ridge. So I don't know. But what did you think of that in the introduction of this woman who was on the elliptical?
Go ahead, Rich.
I thought, well, I was like, okay, that I didn't like like you said, the whole what you said about the elliptical. Okay, all right, yeah. So they're again trying to show the connection between these two characters, because he's fit.
Yeah.
So you're saying that she also does this stuff too. Okay, but the lady looked crazy from the moment I saw her. So I thought that was a very weird interaction, but I knew something was up with that. The way, because again, this was not really quite yet towards the end of the episode, but I figured something else was going to happen after this. That probably was not going to be what you would expect.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mm. Yep. So we'll get into it. So then he sits down. She's like, "You must be hungry." And the whole thing. Like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So she sits down and she starts talking and asking questions. She was like, "Oh wow, so you actually came to look?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah. I was there, and my dog, the one I told, oh yeah, yeah. How it died? The dog died. I was by myself, and I just thought about you and just coming to see you and get out of there." He's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. All right. So you know, I guess you're spending the night." It was weird. It was like
Yeah.
back and forth. It was like, oh yeah, I guess so. It's like, okay, so eat this, and so he's taking some.
Well,
What?
that's the whole thing with me. That's the dead giveaway. I'm like, how the hell are you giving a dude that traveled across a state a fucking brownie? What? It's like you're hooking him up with all these excess calories, no protein, nothing.
That should have been, yeah.
Yep.
And a dude like that wouldn't eat a brownie if he's
Yep.
still worried about it. And the same thing with her. If she's doing all that stuff, the last thing you're going to do is a brownie. Maybe you give, like, I don't know, like a rice cake or something, but no, it's like, here, have this brownie. Yeah. And there's no water or milk or anything,
Yeah, it was all
nobody's
trash.
like, well, you can have some Parmalat. Parmalat lasts forever. So we can get some Parmalat. But anyway, no, he has a piece of his brownie. He takes some bites, and then all of a sudden it cuts in through his point of view, and it's getting all woozy, and he's hearing, "What are you doing here? Who are you with?" He's like, "Wait, what? Can I get some water?" I thought that was funny. I was like, that's gonna help. But then she gets into it that others have shown up, and they've tried to take what she has, and she's killed them. And she likes watches, and you see there's a collection of watches that she has, and she's taking his watch. That's what she does. And this is what bothered me. It's like, no, none of that had to happen because she had to open up the gate to the bunker. So if she is not trusting of these people, because clearly that means that she's been corresponding with other men through these chats or doing whatever. And if they're just randomly finding this place, or maybe she's giving them the address, if you don't feel comfortable, if you can see them through the camera and you're like, I don't feel comfortable letting this person in, don't open the door. They don't even see it. There's like brush and stuff covering the bunker doors. Remember, right? When it comes up, it's camouflage. You can't tell it's there. What's the point of that?
Well, that's dead giveaway number 2. A Karen type of person seeing a black man in a security footage. That's a dead giveaway. That wouldn't happen in real life.
But she knew. I'm sure he sent her a picture. He must have sent her a picture. And then, if anything, a picture with no shirt on. He's jacked. It's like, hey, it's Apocalypse. I'm jacked. You like to work out. We're alone. You want to get hook up and do something. But the point is that she didn't have to open. She didn't even have to say anything. And then he would have just ran off because he didn't know what the door was. It wasn't like a house where it's like you're banging on the door. He didn't know how to enter this bunker.
It was deep. It was a deep bunker too. It's like when he fell, it looked like he fell like pretty far.
Yeah,
it felt like when Mario falls down those tubes.
Right. Woo! Yeah, it was definitely none of that ended up. And then what I was thinking is, I was like, oh, maybe the reason why she opens up is that she's a cannibal. Like that's not a brownie you're eating. This is how she's surviving. She's luring these men over. Then when they come down, then she kills them. And we're gonna see that when she pushes him in a room and it's a kill room, there's gonna be blood and all this stuff and body parts and clothes stacked up in a corner or something. That's not the case either. So that whole interaction didn't make much sense. Go ahead.
So what you just said, you should be writing for the show, Adam, because the cannibal thing sounds like a far better idea. And as somebody who has actually taken the edible before, I have never had that reaction to an edible. So that was very dramatic.
Like that joke. One cannibal during lunch said to the other cannibal, like, this tastes funny.
And here's the I guess this is where I knew I'm like, yeah, this, even though I was kind of down on it with the other stuff that happened beforehand, this is when I knew I'm like, yeah, I definitely don't like this episode. It's like well, you're trying to be Black Mirror, it's like you're going from a Walking Dead kind of buddy road trip kind of thing, and then now it's like all this other stuff. So That's when I'm like, I'm not. Yeah, this episode was
I
not for me.
and to go along with the Black Mirror theory, I also would say it kind of gave me Misery vibes with the whole fact that he was trapped in there, but of course it wasn't that extreme of a situation. Because
Right.
Misery, yeah, that was far worse situation.
Well, at least with that she wanted him there. In Misery, that was the whole thing. She was infatuated with this guy, and she's like, "I'm going to keep you here forever, and you're going to keep writing, and I'm going to be able to read it firsthand." That wasn't the case here. It's like, yeah, if she would have said, "You're going to be here forever. I'm tying you to the bed. You're going to be my sex slave, and that's how this is going to work out." That would have been great. They didn't even have to show any of that. They could have just wrote that in, and that would have been believable. I'm like, oh well, he's jacked in. She's alone, and she just drugged him. There's a reason. She's not going to eat him, and she clearly doesn't want to just have him for company. That's the next step, right? Just for sex. But no, that's it. So she starts asking, well, "Who are you with? Why were you trying to take this from me?" And she has a knife and she starts cutting him and doing the whole thing. It's getting dark. I'm like, okay, this is it. And a part of me was like, all right, this is where this show is going to redeem itself and just go back into old school, like Walking Dead. All right, now she's going to kill him and then just chop him up or something and then make a stew. It's going to get dark because there was no doubt in my mind that the Olivia Munn character, I'm blanking on her name already. Eve L.
Was she Evie?
Evie. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it because it was Evie and Joe. It's both of them. It's together. If not, then that's horrible because then that was the name of the woman in the bunker.
Yeah.
But there was no doubt that she was going to pop up again. Right. So I was like, all right, she's going to either show up to save the day or she's going to be too late and she's going to see something horrible. And there we go. So we cut away. There's a pun there. Right. So now we're over with Olivia Munn's character, and she makes it to the cabin. So she gets there. She doesn't see him there, but she sees all the paintings and stuff, and it has like people I hate. And there is a beautiful portrait of her. And he loves her. He still loves her, the whole thing, but he's not there. He doesn't find her. And I was like, oh, okay, well. There goes that the theory that I had that he was the one that stole the bike and he was en route to that cabin. And she didn't find him as a walker, which is something we would normally see on Fear or Walking Dead, right? You're looking for someone, a loved one, a friend, and like, I can't find. Oh my god! And then you see them. Oh, no, that we didn't get that. So we still don't know. He technically could be the guy on the bike. Maybe he did steal the bike. Maybe it could be a woman. Who knows? We don't know. But anyway,
it was a guy. It was definitely a guy.
Different guy. Yeah. All right. So then that's the last that we saw of her in that part. But she does show up. And I guess because she remembered where the picture and where the house was. And like she said, it was close to the cabin. So she goes up and she starts waving at the camera too. It's like, hi, I'm here looking for my friend Joe. And da, da, da. And she opens, the woman in the bunker opens up.
She says the passphrase as well.
She says the passphrase, right? So the doors open and, oh, wow. I just thought of it. Well, I mean, I'm filling in the blanks. But
so now you like this episode now?
No. Because I have to fill in the blanks. I don't like to have to fill in blanks. I hate that because then it sucks. But I'm thinking maybe that it's like an open sesame thing. That's what opens the doors. It's not that the woman wanted to open the door to the bunker. The passphrase opens it automatically. So then that's it. Because I was like, yeah, if that's it. But then still, then why are you giving out this code willy-nilly in chat rooms? What are you doing, lady? You're giving this out. So anyway, she goes down in there and then the woman says, oh, hi. And then she sits down. They start talking. And it's like, are you hungry? And she hands her a brownie. And it's like, oh, wow, this is great. And then the funny part is like, yeah, it's homemade. Where else is it going to be? Where are you shopping? Huh? What's going on? Is this the Little Debbie's? You found a supermarket somewhere? What's going on? Of course it's homemade. But whatever. She comes up with that. And then she's asking, now the Evie character is asking about where's Joe. He said he was coming here. She's like, oh, I don't really remember a guy. He's like, oh no, I read the back and forth. You guys were talking. Oh really? I don't know. This whole thing. But then she's starting to pick up that something's off with this lady. She's starting to pick up on it. And then she takes a few bites and then she says, you know what? You really should warn someone before you give them an edible. Right? It's like, what? Like, I've had one before. I know what this is. And then, of course, that's where the fight happens, and they start brawling it out. But before I go any further, though, what did you think of that? Of how she got in and their interaction? Did that make sense to you? The story, was it going in the right direction? Did you see this happening, or did you? Right, this was the only logical part.
Yeah, I saw it all from every aspect of it happening. Because I knew that she would know the password because when I first saw what's his name give out the password, I'm like, oh, so there's a password, and then I'm like, oh, I saw her walking into the thing, and this is a self-contained episode, and I saw there was like no more like hardly any time left, so I'm like, oh, she's gonna give out the password because she read the book, she read his book, his diary or whatever it was, so she's gonna get in, she's gonna try to give her a brownie. And she's gonna find out that it's not no regular brownie because she's the organic person, the person that knows about
and she
all
even
this.
said it. She said, "Was it? She doesn't drink, but she gets high." She had said that during the campfire scene.
So that's gonna be the way that she's gonna figure this out. And obviously they showed before that she what was that? She knew like some martial arts or something. Like I forgot where when they fought the walkers.
Capoeira.
She did capoeira, and that's the funny thing. Capoeira, I did a little capoeira back in the day, and it's a lot of movement with the leg. Well, it's Brazilian. I did Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so it's all connected. But I don't know how that relates to what she was doing because she wasn't really throwing kicks or anything, and that's a lot of kicks. But whatever, keep going.
So yeah, so I knew that that's the way she was going to defend herself, and then she was going to get to Joe, but I didn't really. That's like the exact same way that I imagined it would go. That's the way it went. I didn't see Joe killing her by throwing an axe across the room, which was pretty cool. But yeah, it went exactly how I thought it would. Because it was.
Well, that was when she turned into a walker. At that point, she was the walker version.
Yeah,
because she was killed. Evie gets upper hand, kills her. Then she hears the mumbling in the other room. She goes in. She finds Joe all tied up. Again, we don't know why he was tied up because what's the end goal? I still have that question. What was her goal with this guy? What did she do with all these men that she lures there and kills them? And what, just to steal a watch? There's got to be more to it. That's why I was hoping there would be more in that room, but we don't see anything in that room. It's just dark and he's just tied up there.
Yeah,
I think.
go ahead, Rich.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think the intent was that they wanted to show that the zombies are not the only issue when it's an apocalypse like that, because a lot of people go crazy, and I guess they just wanted to show you that she is just as dangerous because she's gone crazy. But I do agree, they definitely could have explained a lot more. Yeah, I understand if she felt like he was going to take her property, then that was why she did all these things to these other people. But they definitely could have expanded upon why this lady was so crazy.
Well, because we didn't also, and here's another issue with this episode and why the standalone doesn't work for this type of episode. We know about her because we saw her picture, right? We saw her picture, and he was talking to her via the DMs or whatever that thing was. Okay, we're done with that. We go into the whole Olivia Munn stuff, and then he's telling her that's where he's going, and then she reads his diary, but he doesn't really talk as much about her. Like, it would have been cool if like every scene had him mentioning something about her. It's like, oh, and she's this, and she's this, and she's this, and she's this. So when we actually get to her, and she turns out to be the big bad of this episode, it'll be like the twist. It's like, oh shit! Like, oh, I was like, oh, we didn't expect this to happen. Instead of we barely know anything about her. We just know that she was talking in some chat room and and how she looks like. That's all we know.
Yeah, it had a lot of plot holes, and the big one for me though is that it's more about her and her end goal. What was her end goal? Because I can understand if this was a one-off and she was really surprised that he found the bunker and all that, and then she's concerned. It's like, oh, what's your real? She drugged him to find out. What's your real motive? I don't think. But No, they added in the whole thing about others have shown them, and she has a watch collection, and that's her trophies that she likes to collect from them. And that, okay, then you've done this before. What do you get out of it? It's just the thrill of the kill without having to leave your home. Is that what it is? And then I'm assuming that these people have others that know where they're going. They probably said, "Hey, listen, I'm going so if I don't come back, here's the address, just in case." I'm going to see if I could find this lady. She has a nice place. Maybe we could all go live there. I don't know. It just seems too odd that she's finding all these lonely hearts out there during this time, and that she's luring them there just to kill them for a watch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But it leads to the end of the episode, as you mentioned. The walker then of that woman gets up. He takes that. Boom.
Well, I'm sorry, Adam, but I have to interject here because what I would have the logical thing in this thing is he is a bunker fanatic. He's been doing bunkers. He's been thinking about the apocalypse since before an inkling of the apocalypse even happened. He stayed in his bunker for a long ass time until his dog died, which was his only companion at the time. And he went to go search for the only person that understood him and his love for bunkers. He finds this person. She happens to have the best bunker, from my knowledge, of all time, because this looks like something from, I don't know, like Half-Life or something.
And she said it too. She said it that the person that was selling her and her husband the bunker was trying to sell a lower end, but she wanted to go the highest version. So she got like the platinum bunkers or whatever. And I'm assuming that since he's a construction worker, he probably built his own.
Yeah. So he had a makeshift bunker. She had the creme de la creme, and he left because what's the reason for him leaving so quickly? Well, you couldn't stay there for a couple of days to survive, to take a shower, to eat something, to take the watches. I don't know, do something. He's in a badass bunker. There's no one else other than the person that was there in the beginning, and they already took care of her. Why didn't he stay there for a little bit?
Wait, what? Say where? What do you mean?
In the bunker.
But he just showed up and she drugged him.
But he killed her.
He's saying.
No, I get it. Why didn't they decide just to stay in the bunker after she died?
Yeah,
at least for the night.
That's where it throws off, because we definitely would have stayed there. We just throw her body out and then that's it. We take over.
Well, here's the thing though. They did not kill her afterwards, because you saw this when she turned into the zombie.
Right.
They closed the shaft, so she was still struck down there. They would have to kill her before they can claim the property. But they definitely should have stayed there. I didn't really understand that either, so I agree with you on that.
I'm like, you're in like the best bunker in the world that has all the tunes. It probably has more Sudoku magazines that you can use and complete. It probably has the comfortable bed and running water. But you dipped right at it's like
it has the internet.
It probably has the best Wi-Fi and landline. So you I don't understand why they dipped with the quickness when they took care of the only threat within that facility.
Yeah. And then the reasoning also when Evie was saying, well, we're going to go. There's others out there like us. We can find them. We just have to go and find these people. And they get on the bike. No, they didn't get on the bike. They just went on the road. That's right, because the bike is still gone.
So now they're sleeping. In bridges, surrounded by walkers, instead of being in a state-of-the-art home.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. That's not logical. That's not what people.
And this is the bunker guy. This is the bunker guy. It's like being I don't know, a fan of bread, and you live in a place that doesn't make good bread, but then you go to Paris and you're like, nah, I don't want. I need to leave right away.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
or a person that's into RVs and stuff like that, and then seeing a souped up one, I'm like, I shouldn't check that one. Probably got nothing good there. Look, it's a souped up RV. You know about this.
It's like the right. It's like the Wright brothers finding a 747 and they're like, we're good.
Well, let's just stick with this, because that's the thing. He didn't even say, all right, let's just go back to where I used to live. At least I know that's safe. No, they're just going to keep going out there. And I don't think they mentioned if she was still going to, because he's like, did you go to the cabin? Like, yeah, I found it, but he wasn't there and the whole thing. And there goes that. And then they're off. And if, let's say, a casual watcher who's not familiar with the plans for this series, they may think the next episode is going to be about them. But then we quickly see a sneak peek of the next episode, and it's a completely different story, which also seems more like Walking Dead. A lot of chaos, a lot of things happening just during the early outbreak days. Very reminiscent of Fear the Walking Dead episode 1. Where they're like, whoa, what's happening? People getting sick. I don't know. What's that? Oh, no. And, freaking out. So it looks like we're going to see that in like an office environment, right? That's what it sort of looked like.
That's exactly what it looks like.
Right. So keep going, Rich.
So I just want to make a quick comment. So if I was to describe this particular episode, I would say that it was a mediocre road trip. But I will say this. Because again, it was too lighthearted and all this other stuff that was very weird. I will say this though, I do think they are going to at least have a few episodes that are pretty decent, because one of the episodes that they are also going to have is a bit of a backstory to Alpha, because we did see that actress is also
she's going to have her tale of and we sort of saw some of that in one. Remember, there was one episode where it did go into where her husband and it looked like she was in a rough relationship at the time. So that's what hardened her. But yeah, we're going to see more of that. And at first, when I first heard about this, the tales, that's what I assumed, that this was going to tell us more backstories of beloved characters that are no more. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see one for Beta. Because remember, he was part of a band of some sort. Remember, we saw the poster. And all. So maybe we'll see more of that, because everyone else seems to know that he was famous, or it's sort of hint of like, oh wow, it's you, that type of thing. And I was like, oh well, who, what? And then we saw the poster and his face ripped off it. So clearly he was a big deal of some sort at the time within that world. But I don't know. The only thing that they hinted at in this episode is they kept throwing the word survivor alive. Evie, when she was talking to that woman, when she was like, oh, I don't know where Joe is, the whole thing. I was like, no, he would have made it, because he's a survivor. He's a survivor. He there's no way. And it's the same thing. So I guess the way they see it in the show is like, and let's not just live here to do the same as what she was doing, just living an isolated life in a bunker, or what he was doing in his end. And they never hinted that there was a romantic element between the two. So it's not like, oh, well, you got what you need. You guys can fool around, whatever. You got food, you got supplies. I mean, this is it. This is what you want, right? Company, and you'll be okay. But that's not what they want, and that's not what they're looking for in each other. So it only makes sense, I guess, in their eyes. Well, let's just keep going, and we'll find other people. Right? Because if they wanted to establish that type of relationship, then this would be the best location, because then they have each other, they enjoy each other's company, and they can see that at least progressing on another level. And they're like, yeah, we got everything we need here. So
which is perfect for a standalone episode. So
yeah. But the way they ended, they hinted that we may see them again, because now they're going on the road. Unless
that was me being sarcastic. It's like, it seems like they're building up to something that's never going to get paid off, because there's no.
Well, that's what I was saying. I'm thinking maybe this is the showrunner just planting a seed, and then just like standing back and watching to see if this is blossom. Do people react to this? Do people? Because I mean, Terry Crews, he's a big name in TV. He's done a lot of great shows, and of course we know him from commercial stuff. But he's a good actor, and Olivia Munn is Olivia Munn. So that's all I'm going to say about that attack of the show. We'll always remember that. But to put both of them in this episode, in the first episode, is to sort of like plant the seed of like, would you like to see these people with their own show? You know?
Yeah. I think you hit it on the head. And I personally believe that for the characters on these shows that do survive, they're definitely going to possibly look at the numbers and see how many people are watching, and then factor that into whether or not they want to bring those characters back in the future.
I mean, if I really want to go into the writer's room, in my head, what I'm thinking is, some point they were like, all right, listen, they're sitting with AMC and stuff. All right, well, what ideas you have? This isn't that expensive, these shows, right? They start pitching. And they start throwing all these ideas. Boom, boom. What if we did this? What if we had these people? What do we have to do? I was like, all right. How do we know any of this is going to work? I got it. All right, we make this mini series, standalone episodes. Jimmy, you had a great idea. That's one episode. Jill, you had a great idea. That's another episode. We spit all these episodes out there, right? Okay. And then once they're out there, we watch the numbers. We listen to the feedback. And whichever one, come on now, we're throwing, spaghetti at the wall. One of them has to stick. The one that sticks is the one we grow.
Say it.
Gotta have something.
They gotta have something.
We can do it. One of these has to stick. How do we really make it stick? Well, how much do we have in the budget? Well, we can't get triplet. We're not getting. Let's look TV wise. Who can we get? Who's interested? And then they start throwing names and they start reaching out. Terry Crews, great fit for something like this. Olivia Munn, she does some movies, TV. She's in between. She could work with this, and I'm sure we're going to see other. And from what I've seen with the panel, there are other TV style actors, known actors that pop up in these episodes, and see what works. And I wouldn't be surprised if one of them works, then later on we find out they're going to continue the story, because this was very open. This ending was not a complete end. This wasn't like a Twilight Zone type of thing, where it's like, oh, then they're done, and then right at the end you see that they chuck the body, out of the bunker, and they close the door. Boom. Then that would have been perfect. That's it. You just see the body gets chucked up, and then the doors close. Boom. Episode's over. No. Because then we know that, well, they're just going to live in a bunker and live their life, and that's it. But no, they're out exploring the world, and we're going to see their adventure and whatever else happens. But I don't need that. I didn't get that from this. I really wasn't interested in the characters, especially the Terry Crews. I expected more from him. I expected a different approach. Like we said, he was playing Terry Crews. He was playing himself that he plays in a lot of his other shows besides Henry, which is a really good action movie that he did. This was not the side of him I wanted to see. I wanted to see a darker, more serious Terry Crews in this world, and that's not what I got. And the Olivia Munn, that's fine. That could have been any. The character's fine with that whole thing of her being with the very with the vegan, or not vegan, but very lighthearted with the way she takes things, and a little flaky. That's fine, because there's going to be those, right? There's just going to be those. But you need someone that's more stable on things. I mean, that's the whole reason why people like the Norman Reedus character, Daryl, because he is that real survivor approach. Like, I'm gonna go figure it out. I got a crossbow. I don't need a gun. I got a motorcycle. I got a dog. What's my dog? It's dog. What I mean? I was like, boom, we get it. And I was hoping with Terry Crews, in a way they showed him with the bunker and all this stuff, and he said he was a construction worker, that he was going to be that, and that's not what I got from it. So I don't see this going anywhere.
I mean, that's I guess I do I can't be a sucker for revolving cameos. So, for example, let's say this Tales of the Walking Dead came out, I don't know, 10 years ago, when The Walking Dead was in its prime, and then somehow in season 3 of The Walking Dead, Joe and Evie pop up in the storyline, and get introduced into the main cast. That would have been cool. I feel like that would have been pretty cool, but I feel like we're at the point where these types of things are kind of harder. It's like the Walking Dead proper is getting, is going to end pretty soon. Fear of the Walking Dead, we don't know how much longer we got with Fear of the Walking Dead. So there isn't going to be a mainline show.
We have the other one, the Negan and the Isle of the Dead, the Negan and Maggie, which seems like that's going to be the serious one with the runners, the walkers no longer walking, just running at them and stuff.
Well, we have, I feel like it would have been better for the main installment show, but regardless, the fact that it I feel like it would have been better if just the whole purpose was to make this a complete standalone experience and not sort of be like, hey, maybe they'll show again, because I feel like that constricts you into what you can do. Um, maybe one of them dies and it would have been felt better to as sad as it sounds. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of this episode, unfortunately. Nothing against Olivia Munn and Terry Crews. I didn't feel like they did a bad job in this episode.
It wasn't their acting. It was just the character development.
It was the character development. It was the pacing. It was some of the writing and characterizations that I felt were kind of a letdown. The reason I'm still stuck on this, why didn't they stay in the bunker for at least a night? Yeah. It's like...
Well, if anybody wants to see something like that happen, just look up the movie The Road, because that happened. They find the father and his son, they find a bunker, and they stay there for a while. And it makes perfect sense, because that's exactly what you would do. You would do it. I would do it. We'd all do it. If we find something like this and there's only one body there that we just killed, one walker, it's like we just killed a bunch of walkers up top. We could dump this one out.
Here's the suggestion that I would have made to AMC. It's like, okay, let's say everything stays the same, just a better ending for this episode. They kill the bunker chick. They make sure that she doesn't come back as a dead. They toss her out. They stay in the bunker for at least a night where they can freshen up, regroup, and they can say what their plans are for their, like, what they want, what their mission statement is to life. They can express that, and then at the last scene is them opening the hatches and leaving to the other world.
They didn't have all
That's
that.
Where it ends.
They didn't have all that time to film it. That's all.
We had time to film a bridge.
They couldn't do it. I'm sorry. That's it. They wanted that bridge scene. That took up
a bridge with a lamb.
I'm sorry. Yeah, they still have Lammy. So, well, Rich, I know you said this is one of your favorite episodes of all time, but as you see, Carlos and I, we disagree. Oh, no. We disagree.
As I said, this was a mediocre episode. And I actually may title this that as the title of this particular review, but I will just say that I mean, like I said, this episode too lighthearted, a lot of weird stuff, but I still think they're going to have a couple episodes on this series that actually will be decent. But we'll see how that goes.
I will tell you this, Rich. I saw the preview for the next episode. Don't hold your hopes up, man, because it did not look good to me. I was like, I'm not falling for this.
We will see. I mean, look, there's only 6, so there's 5 more left, and then after this, we jump back into Fear, and we'll see what's going on with that. And then Walking Dead proper comes back, but I think that's later on. I gotta look at this.
October, like early October.
Right, October. All right. So we will see where we go from there. All right, people. Thanks again for supporting us over on iTunes and Spotify and following us. That's always great. Of course, over at the Koalition with a K.com and YouTube. So if you don't have the audio version, you want to just check us out and see us there. That's where we're on now. And we will be back next week for episode 2 of Tales of the Walking Dead. So remember, go look at the flowers. Peace.
Peace.